regret that in spite of our intention, the Anambra election did not turn out to be the best election that the Commission has conducted so far. We regret the challenges that we faced in the conduct of this election. Though the Anambra election was not the best election as we had hoped, there was substantial compliance with the Electoral Act 2010 as amended in the conduct of the election, and that a substantial majority of the complaints that have been laid cannot be substantiated. Therefore, we have decided that the supplementary election will hold in Anambra State on November 30th, 2013.
That's it, November 30th, 2013. That is when the supplementary election will hold in Anambra State. And let me bring you up to speed with what you're expecting to see. 210 polling units. That is where we'll be having those supplementary elections in 16 local governments. But in those 16 local governments, 160 polling units in Idemili North alone, like 17 in Onitsha South local government, and the candidates are up to fight for 113,113 votes. Those are the basics of the supplementary election as we look to it. But you just heard Professor Atairu Jega saying that regrets. He actually said that twice. Regrets in this election. It didn't turn out the way it was planned, but based on the law, INEC has fulfilled its obligations. I'm still talking with some of our guests here in the studio. Mr. Kenneth Odidika is a legal practitioner, and in our Abuja studio, we have Mr. Ezenwa Nwago. He's an election observer. Thank you for staying with us here on the program. Now, you can be part of the program by letting us know what you feel and your opinion about this. Send your thoughts at Sheon Okin on Twitter and to our email, politicstoday@channelstv.com. Let me come to you by asking you. You heard what Professor Jega said. There are regrets in this election. It did not turn out the way the plan, but it still satisfied the provision of the law. That is what it says. Going into this supplementary, do you agree with what Jega said in his speech?
Well, first of all, he has all the facts. I don't have all the facts. I say from what I heard, from what I have and what I've heard. Now, the provision of the law is talking about substantial compliance. It is 100% compliance. Now, if he says that there's substantial compliance, and we've talked about 160 booths, out of how many?
Out of over 4,000.
Now, that is what percentage is that?
That's less than 10%.
So there's compliance in over 90% of the booths in Anambra State. That would seem to tally with what you just said, that there is compliance and compliance with the law. If that is the situation, then he's on the right track. And again, you see, we shouldn't lose. We're talking about legal. We also talk about political and sociological, and in fact social. It would appear that there are some people who are actually bent in ensuring that INEC is seen as a failure. Because we're all on Facebook, all the social media, we're there. And some people go out of the way to describe INEC in such a manner as to cast such aspersion on them that, in fact, they've gone as far as saying that if what happened in Anambra, which they haven't actually pointedly noted, if what happened in Anambra is the way to go in 2015, then Nigeria will burn. That I read that in Facebook today. So it will look like some people are already out. They're bent on ensuring that INEC is seen as a failure, and that whatever INEC does in 2015 must be taken to that they have failed. So Nigeria should ban.
Oh, let me ask you, it's just like a student going into an examination. What you are required to do is to burn candles, read, prepare, do all what you can as everything possible as a student. But when anything goes wrong, say for example, if there is a mistake in the marking, could the student be held responsible for it? Bringing it to INEC. INEC has done its best that it says it has, considering the time and the resources available. Could INEC be blamed in this case? In any case?
Yes, I said that some blame must go to INEC. INEC itself has said that some of its staff were compromised, were complicit in whatever compromise there was in this electoral process. So for that will be blamed. Now, for the other aspect of the human nature of human beings, is history of money coming to them, and for the parties obliging, that's not INEC's fault.
So generally, what do you think the problem is?
No, generally, the average Nigerian, and that is the truth, it doesn't matter what people want to believe. I've said it before, the default mode of Nigeria is fraud. I've said it on your sister program before. The default mode of Nigeria is fraud. Everybody comes out expecting money for him to vote, and the parties oblige them. The political parties oblige them. What can INEC do to stop that? Because that's what can actually lead to total breakdown of fraud. And how many policemen or soldiers do you have in every polling booth to stop people from collecting this money?
Well, I mean, just like as you mentioned, let me give you an idea of the presence of security operatives in this election so that you can have an idea of the preparations that we're talking about. We're actually trying to find a solution to this problem. It appears to be a huge one because a lot of people are taking a leaf from the Anambra elections into the 2014 and 2015 election. So it's very important that we learn a lot of lessons from here. There is one police deputy inspector general to coordinate all the activities of the security operatives, especially that of the police in this process. 3 police commissioners, 1 for each senatorial district. There are 3 senatorial districts in Anambra State. 28,000 police officers were deployed with 120 men in each local government areas. Police have made available names of personnel so that you can reach them and know exactly who you are talking to, where the person is. That's an ease of access that police have made available during the election. 22-hour restrictions on movement. These are some of the things that are being placed. Let me go to our Abuja studio and ask you, Mr. Nwago. You talk about the integrity of INEC in all of this process and what INEC did, substantial preparation they said they've put into all of this. Could INEC be blamed in any case? They've done all their best. But look at what we're getting from electorates too. All right, it seems we have a bit of a challenge there. Let me ask you, with all of these things that we have seen play out in Anambra, you once mentioned about the integrity of INEC. But INEC came forward to identify the man who they say compromised the process, the EO in charge of Idemili North. They in fact came forward to announce the name of this man. What else do you want from an organization or a commission that is this transparent?
Sure, let's proceed from what you know that is our real experience in our country. Take for instance that there is an accident, for instance, and what you get, people who are eyewitnesses will tell you that over 50 people lost their lives. Official report will be 10. When you get the official report, those people who were on ground know that what we have extolled official lighting. We have made official lighting something that has been ingrained in the psyche of the ordinary Nigerian. People who were in Anambra knew that we are simply just scapegoating Idemili North. If you talk about security agencies, if you were and say you were in Anambra, you will have passed through the command headquarters, for instance. You will have seen the luggages of the men and women who came to
do election work in front of the command. Their luggages were littered in front of the command. That was what we saw in Anambra. That is not being reported. INEC has not come to say that the core members that they were going to deploy for the election were requesting that they be paid because of the way they've been handled in time past. And those are the issues that played out, and nobody is taking all of that. So the point for me is that beyond the official position of INEC, the election in Anambra must not be seen only from the lenses of the election management body. You must take a holistic, you must ask media people, you must consult the election observers, you will also even ask the security agencies to give you an unbiased report of what happened in Anambra. And I tell you without mincing word that Anambra was a disgrace. And INEC knows it, and the Nigerian people know it. And that is why they hue and cry about cancelling that election. INEC cannot continue to hide under legal cover to continue to create a precedent that will continue to haunt us in 2014 and 2015 if we do nothing about it. It is time that we begin to take the issue of electoral offenses seriously. If people derelict on their duty, what sanctions? If people do not take materials to where they should take it on time, do we paper over it and say, oh, it's a logistic problem? Is that not an offense that can be dealt with either administratively or even through the laws that we already have as election offenses? These are very clear, because sabotage is not just when money exchanges hands. Sabotage is when you are supposed to start a process at 8 o'clock and you come there by 1 o'clock and you claim terrain that you already knew existed before you started planning. So these issues, we do not put people in public office to hoist regimes of excuses. We put people in public offices to solve problems and not to explain to us why they failed. So it's important that as Nigerians and as we are getting ready for elections, if we let Anambra go without challenging the issues that it has thrown up, in 2015 we will have no basis to complain. Why will you close down a state for 3 solid 2 days and you say that nobody can pass through because you are having an election? I think we need to interrogate whether an election is an event or a process. We need to begin to ask serious questions about the way and manner people that we put in public offices handle the offices that we give to them. It is, if you take collectively the excuses that Professor Jega had given, he himself has said they have regretted. There's so much, when you say you regret, and you are not just, hello. All right. Mr. Wago, just let's go for a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about the supplementary election. What are we to expect? You can be a part of the discussion. Join us on the conversation on Twitter and send an email to us to be part of the show. We'll be right after this break.